Good evening. Last time. When I am dead, it will not be difficult to melt the mirror and so cast the bell, but to the person who breaks this bell by ringing it, great wealth will be given by the ghost of me. You must know, the last wish or promise of anybody who dies in anger or performs suicide in anger is generally supposed to possess a supernatural force. After the dead woman's mirror had been melted and the bell had been successfully cast, people remembered the words of that letter. They felt sure that the spirit of the writer would give wealth to the breaker of the bell. And as soon as the bell had been suspended in the court of the temple, they went in multitude to ring it. With all their might and main they swung the ringing beam, but the bell proved to be a good bell, and it bravely withstood their assaults. Nevertheless, people were not easily discouraged. Day after day, at all hours, they continued to ring the bell furiously, caring nothing whatever for the protests of the priests. So the ringing became an affliction, and the priests would not endure it, and they got rid of the bell by rolling it down the hill and into a swamp. The swamp was deep and swallowed it up, and that was the end of the bell. Only its legend remains, and in that legend it is called the Mugen Kane, or Bell of Mugen. Now there are queer old Japanese beliefs in the magical efficacy of a certain mental operation, implied though not described by the verb mazoraeru. The word itself cannot be adequately rendered by any English word, for it is used in relation to many kinds of mimetic magic, as well as in relation to the performance of many religious acts of faith. Common meanings of mazoreru, according to dictionaries, are to initiate, to compare, to liken, but the esoteric meaning is to substitute in imagination one object or action for another, so as to bring about some magical or miraculous result. For example, you cannot afford to build a Buddhist temple, but you can easily lay a pebble before the image of a Buddha with the same pious feeling that would prompt you to build a temple if you were rich enough to build one. The merit of so offering the pebble becomes equal, or almost equal, to the merit of erecting a temple. You cannot read the 6,771 volumes of the Buddhist texts, but you can make a revolving library containing them turn round by pushing it. By pushing it like a windlass, okay? Let me try this sentence again. You cannot read the 6,771 volumes of the Buddhist texts, but you can make a revolving library containing them turn round by pushing it like a windlass, and if you push with an earnest wish that you could read the 6,771 volumes, you will acquire the same merit as the reading of them would enable you to gain. So much will perhaps suffice to explain the religious meanings of mazoreru. The magical meanings could not all be explained without a great variety of examples, but for present purposes the following will serve. If you should make a little man of straw, for the same reason that Sister Helen made a little man of wax, and nail it with nails not less than 5 inches long to some tree in a temple grove at the hour of the ox, and if the person imaginatively represented by that little straw man should die thereafter in atrocious agony, that would illustrate one signification of mazoreru. Or let us suppose that a robber has entered your house during the night and carried away your valuables. If you can discount the footprints of that robber in your garden, and then promptly burn a very large muksa on each of them, the soles of the feet of the robber will become inflamed, and will allow him no rest until he returns, of his own accord, to put himself at your mercy. That is another kind of mimetic magic expressed by the term mazoreru, and a third kind is illustrated by the various legends of Mugen Kane. After the bell had been rolled into the swamp, there was, of course, no more chance of ringing it in such way as to break it. But persons who regretted this loss of opportunity would strike and break objects imaginatively substituted for the bell, thus hoping to please the spirit of the owner of the mirror that had made so much trouble. One of these persons was a woman called Umegae, famed in Japanese legend because of her relation to Kajiwara Kage Sue, a warrior of the Heike clan. While the pair were traveling together, Kajiwara one day found himself in great straits for want of money, and Umegae, remembering the tradition of the Bell of Mugen, took a basin of bronze and, mentally representing it to be the bell, beat upon it until she broke it, crying out at the same time for 300 pieces of gold. A guest of the inn where the pair were stopping made inquiry as to the cause of the banging and the crying, and, on learning the story of the trouble, actually presented Umegae with 300 ryo in gold. Afterwards, a song was made about Umegae's basin of bronze, and that song is sung by dancing girls even to this day. Umegae no chozubachi tataiti, o kane ga deru naraba, minasan mi uke wo sore tanomimasu. In English, if by striking upon the wash basin of Umegae I could make honorable money come to me, then I would negotiate for the freedom of all my girl comrades. I get it. After this happening, the fame of the Mugen Kame became great, and many people followed the example of Umegae, thereby hoping to emulate her luck. Among these folk was a dissolute farmer who lived near Mugenyama, on the bank of the Ogawa. Having wanted his substance in riotous living, this farmer made for himself out of the mud of his garden a clay model of the Mugen Kane, and he beat the clay bell and broke it, crying out the while for great wealth. Then out of the ground before him rose up a figure of a white-robed woman with long, loose-flowing hair, holding a covered jar, and the woman said, "I have come to answer your fervent prayer as it deserves to be answered. Take, therefore, this jar." So saying, she put the jar into his hands and disappeared. Into his house the happy man rushed to tell his wife the good news. He set down in front of her the covered jar, which was heavy, and they opened it together, and they found that it was filled up to the very brim with... But no, I really cannot tell you what it was filled with, as is written. The next story. Jikininki. Once, when... Can I see better without? I can. Okay. No, I can't. Sorry. Once, when Muso Kokushi, a priest of the Zen sect, was journeying alone through the province of Mino. He lost his way in a mountain district where there was nobody to direct him. For a long time he wandered about helplessly, and he was beginning to despair of finding water and shelter for the night, when he perceived on the top of a hill, lighted by the last rays of the sun, one of those hermitages called anjitsu, which are built for solitary priests. It seemed to be in ruinous condition, but he hastened to it eagerly, and found that it was inhabited by an aged priest, from whom he begged the favor of a night's lodging. This the old man harshly refused, but he directed Musso to a certain hamlet in the valley adjoining where the lodging and food could be attained. Musso found his way to the hamlet, which consisted of less than a dozen farm cottages, and he was kindly received at the dwelling of the head man. 40 or 50 persons were assembled in the principal apartment at the moment of Musso's arrival, but he was shown into a small separate room, where he was promptly supplied with food and bedding. Being very tired, he lay down to rest at an early hour, but a little before midnight he was roused from sleep by the sound of loud weeping in the next apartment. Presently the sliding screens were gently pushed apart, and a young man, carrying a lighted lantern, entered the room, respectfully saluted him, and said, "Reverend sir, it is my painful duty to tell you that I am now responsible head of this house. Yesterday I was the eldest son, but when you came here, tired as you were, we did not wish that you should feel embarrassed in any way. Therefore we did not tell you that father had died only a few hours before. The people whom you saw in the next room are the inhabitants of this village. They all assembled here to pay their last respects to the dead, and now they are going to another village about 3 miles off. For by our custom no one of us may remain in this village during the night a death has taken place. We make the proper offerings and prayers, then we go away, leaving the corpse alone. Strange things always happen in the house where the corpse has been left, so we think it better for you to come away with us. We can find you good lodging in the other village, but perhaps, as you are a priest, you have no fear of demons or evil spirits, and if you are not afraid of being left alone with the body, you will be very welcome to use this poor house. However, I must tell you that nobody, except a priest, would dare to remain here tonight." Musso made an answer. "For your kind intention and your generous hospitality and That's a typo. For your kind intention and your generous hospitality, I am deeply grateful. But I am sorry that you did not tell me of your father's death when I came, for though I was a little tired, I certainly was not so tired that I should have found difficulty in doing my duty as a priest. Had you told me, I could have performed the service before your departure. As it is, I shall perform the service after you have gone away, and I shall stay by the body until morning. I do not know what you mean by your words about the danger of staying here alone, but I am not afraid of ghosts or demons. Therefore, please to feel no anxiety on my account." The young man appeared to be rejoiced by these assurances, and expressed his gratitude in fitting words. Then the other members of the family and the folk assembled in the adjoining room, having been told of the priest's kind promises, came to thank him, after which the master of the house said, "Now, reverend sir, much as we regret to leave you alone, we must bid you farewell. By the rule of our village, none of us can stay here after midnight. We beg, kind sir, that you will take every care of your honorable body, while we are unable to attend upon you. And if you happen to hear or see anything strange during our absence, please tell us of the matter when we return in the morning." To be continued.